How's your dog?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sammy's Dead. Welcome to the River's Edge. I am interviewing the wonderful James Sinclair today. I interviewed him a few times in the past. He has his latest movie, The Grand Self, is all about spiritual awakening and really connecting to the source energy inside you. Such a great movie. You guys have to rent it, and I'll let James tell you where to find him so you can do that. Thank you for coming, James.
Thanks for having me, Kelly. Great to see you.
Sammy is doing well, by the way. He was here. He ran away.
Okay, cool.
So James is a wealth of information on spirituality and connecting to oneself. And him and I were talking a little bit last week about the vibration levels at which we operate and how to maintain a higher vibration so you don't get caught up in all the craziness and chaos of what's going on in the world. So we can talk about that today, James. You good with that?
Sounds good.
Okay, what does it mean to raise your vibration? And when people are looking at the current events and like, stuff is crazy out here and their day-to-day living and breathing, what's going to happen next? That's at a very low vibration level, right? And how do they not do that? And what is the impact of doing that?
Yeah. Great question. So everything in the universe, in fact, every single thing, and science is coming out now proving how this is an electric universe and how the sun is electric. And so what that really means is there's vibration that has solidified into form. And thoughts and feelings create vibration. And our predominant thoughts and feelings create our predominant vibration. So if we're feeling good, we're feeling happy, we're feeling joy, we're feeling connected all the time, or at least most of the time, we're attracting everything to us based on our vibration. So everything responds in the universe responds. You know, people talk about the law of attraction. It's really the law of vibration is what creates that attraction, like magnets.
Yeah, because there's so much more than just The Secret, which talks about the law of attraction, right? There's so much more to it in creating your life. It's not just you get a good feeling like, okay, I feel really good right now for these 5 minutes now in my life. I'm going to create this amazing life. It's much more.
That's right.
So
yeah.
Because people did that. They're like, wait a minute, there's no money in the mail. I'm not getting the.
That's right. And a lot of people that did manifest money in the mail like that, they didn't keep it, and they went back to kind of their old what we call the default, you know. And that's really just our based on our predominant thoughts and feelings about ourselves. And so there's a really great saying that we cannot outperform our self-image. And so our predominant thoughts and feelings create a version of ourselves that we live by, that we think it's us. In the East, they call it the ego, and here we just call it self-image. But most of it is built on negativity. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve. So then we go and we see something like The Secret. We sit down, we close our eyes. We're like, I'm going to manifest a Ferrari. And it's like, you know what we manifest? We manifest what we believe we deserve. And we manifest what's in accordance with our self-image. So that's what needs to change. And how we do that is really practice. And you know, in the movies, especially our most recent movie, The Grand Self, we show incredible techniques that help reprogram our subconscious rapidly. And we've seen people, I mean, one woman with 20, 30 years of pain, you know, and a room full of people that she knew, because we were doing a seminar in Nelson, BC, British Columbia, Canada, and it could hardly move. She was in so much pain. But when she got to her core belief and let that go, in a matter of minutes, the pain was gone. We checked in a year later, we checked in 3 years later, 4 years later, pain's still gone. It was just incredible. Wow. So this is what's running the show. And this is why even the Sufis in the East and all the great seers and masters say the highest sadhana, which is the highest practice, you know, yoga practice and all of these practices that people do, it's for one purpose, which is to change our consciousness. And they say the highest practice that we can do is letting go of our limiting beliefs about ourselves. Because the thing is, like, And especially in the East, they get this, Kelly, you know, that we already are everything we want to be. We are opulent abundance. We are a perfect, radiant health. We are joy. We are bliss. We are creative. We are successful. But if we're not experiencing that, because that's who we are, that means the mind has filtered that experience of who we really are. So if we believe that we're not good enough, that impedes the natural expression of our magnificence of who we are. So that's why the ancient masters say, take mind out of a human and you have a God. And
So
and
true.
that's really the limiting programming. They're saying, take the limiting programming. I mean, people hike up to the Himalayas. I've been there. And they ask these masters, it's like, I want to be like you. And the master says, you already are, you know? And it's like, yeah, but I can't do the things you can do. You know, you got to stop. You got to stop thinking that you're not. That's the thing, you know?
So it's so true. And you guys got to rent the movie. It is such a good movie. It's about 2 hours long, and he really goes into a lot. It's about his personal life. Goes in. He's very open and honest about the struggles you've gone through in life, and all of us can relate to that. I'm quite positive. I know I can. About the lack of self-belief, and then you don't create the life you want, and then you have moments of it. You're like, oh, I feel so good, but then you can't hold on to it, and that is so frustrating. So, like when you feel like you've cleared some doubt and lack of self-belief and your insecurities, you're like, okay, I'm on the right path. And then another wave hits you and it knocks you over. Like, what is that all about? Because I don't want that ever to happen again.
Right, right. Well, you know what? When you do clear something, when you do clear a layer, there should be evidence in your life, right? You know, people, circumstances, situations that reflect back that change. And that's why that example of that woman I gave, which is a really dramatic example, 20 or 30 years of being in extreme pain, hardly able to move, and gone in minutes. And is it like that for everyone? No, but more and more. I mean, I had another client that called, and he got 2 opinions. He needed, and the doctor said he needed emergency back surgery right away. And instead he wanted to do the work on his own. And so we worked together, worked with his states of being, and guess what? His body realigned, and he kept going back to the doctors. And at first they're like, okay, so what is this you're doing? And it doesn't seem to be any worse. And then he went back again, and they said, there's an improvement. And they're like, really, what is it you're doing? And then he went back again, and they said, it's as if your back is regrowing, rebuilding itself. It's like, we don't know what to think of this, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And then he became 100% pain-free and 100% healed, you know? And why? It's because he released the resistance about what he was thinking and feeling about himself. And this is a very high achiever, very highly successful person, very high net worth. And yet he had these things. This was an opportunity, and he embraced it. What was going on in his life with his back. He was like, that's why he called me. He wanted to get to the core of it, you know, not just dealing with the effects of like, okay, what can we do? What can we do to get to the cause of this? And he got to the cause. And when he got to that cause, his back cleared up because that resistance is gone. And this is the thing. And this is what we talked about in the movie, made a strong point, Kelly, as you know, is that if we weren't constantly and consistently overriding, you know, who we really are, we'd already be just perfect masters all the time. The whole world would be a heaven-like state, but we've gotten in the way. And we get, so when people say, you know, just let go, to a lot of people that means give up. That's not what it means. Let go means let go of who you believe you are, the limiting beliefs. And Kelly, the challenge with that is, like you say, and it feels like you let go of something and something hits you in the face. The challenge is we have identity based around that, you know? People are like, who would I be if I'm not good enough? I even have a lot of payoffs to be not good enough. People do my work for me. A lot of people, they like the handicap spots. They don't want to let go of their, you know, I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's really true. And so there's an attachment to the identity, because what happens is you start peeling those layers off, and you can go into the unknown. And it's like you say, something feels like it slaps you in the face. A lot of people say life slaps you in the face. Life never slaps us in the face. Our limiting beliefs are reflected back in life. So we're slapping ourselves in the face. So sometimes, so sometimes we do let go of a layer, and then another layer surfaces because there's more. And so it can feel a little bit scary to be in the unknown, because this is what we've always known. Our whole life is around this, you know, and but the more we're willing to just open our hearts and just trade the frustration and the lack and the pain for, you know, alignment with our source, which is joy and flow.
Yeah, and I feel like we're getting pushed more and more to the edge now, right? To be like, okay, you either look within, or you're going to have to deal with all these this nonsense that's going on in the world, like the jab passport and all this stuff. And so I want to talk to you about that, because you and I talked briefly about what if you did get it, and the vibration level of living in that. What if you got it and you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't done it. Like you have an awakening and you regret it. Like, what would you do then?
You know what? I would pay attention to your state of being, because, and this is in our first movie, you know, we focused on Dr. Bruce Lipton, a cell biologist, PhD, and also Dr. Joe Dispenza. And you know, what's the main message there is that we talked about epigenetic control. And that literally means control above the genes. So, you know, not too far ago in our history, not too long ago in our history, we had doctors saying that genes control everything. So we felt victims to our genes. And only half of that is right. Genes still are controlling everything. But now we've discovered, or they've discovered, that what is controlling the genes? And guess what it is? It's our predominant thoughts and feelings. That's why I speak so repetitively about that, because that is the ultimate, you know, and if we can master this, we mastered life, and there's nothing more important. So, you know, we spent in the first movie a lot of time showing, the second movie is more about how do we do it, but the first movie is showing if we can do this, this is what happens. So on a biological level, even in seconds, Kelli, in seconds, we change our state of being. Our biology starts to change. We start creating coherence in the heart, coherence in the brain. It affects and impacts positively and influences our autonomic nervous system. And then genes start switching on and off. You know, genes for health and radiant life start switching on. This happens in seconds. But what happens is, if we go back to our old, you know, our old state of being, which is lack and, you know, I don't deserve, I'm not good enough, whatever, then that changes in seconds too. So the key is we got to keep that up all the time. And we got to be mindful of our states and make this a habit in our lives. Just like we built the habit of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And guess what? Our cells are listening to our vibration. That's a very low vibration. So to answer your question, if somebody got the jab and they're not resonating, there's been a lot of data to show about the placebo effect and also our beliefs. So there's a drug in the United States called Ipecac, which is given to people, administered to people to induce vomiting. It's a very strong drug. But when patients were lied to by doctors and said, this is a drug that everyone else that we've been doing trials with is healing everything. This is going to heal your knees. And it's like, you won't even need knee surgery. And so they took Ipecac, and based on that belief of what that drug would do, not only are those beliefs powerful enough to create chemistry in the brain that counteracted that drug so that they did not vomit, it healed their knees, and they avoided knee surgery. And this is documented. And so this is the power we have. So, you know, obviously we work with our belief systems, you know, and if you're doubtful and you're not sure, then, you know, I'm not interested in getting the jab. You know, I don't think it's a wise move. But if you've gotten the jab, you are still more powerful, because we're creating the biological chemistry in our body that can counteract anything. And that, I believe, is the highest truth. But let's be practical. You know, we're powerful enough to fly and jump off of the 10th story floor. But until we know that, you know, don't do it. You know, so I think there's a practical thing there too. But you know, educate yourself on the placebo. Joe Dispenza has a great book, You Are the Placebo. You know, story after story after story about what people were told and believe, how it creates that chemistry.
That is so true. That's a good point. Like, we do have all these abilities. It doesn't mean we're acting on them today, because our beliefs may not be strong enough to be there. We know we can fly, but we're not flying because our beliefs aren't there that we can fly.
Right.
So yeah, I wouldn't be getting that either. But there's so much fear around that, and people getting it and then like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have. And I just wanted to provide information that would be calming to them to realize you are bigger than that. And if
Yes.
they have already gotten it, like, don't have a freak out, just really work on connecting to source energy and
Yeah.
clearing anything that's in your body that would be
Yeah.
harmful.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, like you left me a message in our correspondence there, and even COVID itself apparently vibrates. So we're talking about vibration, and so you can measure this. And COVID itself apparently vibrates at about 25 hertz. And when you're feeling good and happy, you're at around 200 hertz, which means, and of course COVID is the flu, right?
Yeah.
And this is why.
Say cold instead of, don't say the
Yeah.
C word.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And so, but this is why most people don't get it. And this is why most people recover from it, unless their immune systems are very, very weak, but most people recover naturally. And that's because it's a low vibration. It cannot exist in the body. So I don't know what the vaccine and all the nanoparticles and all that sort of stuff, but that would be a very low vibration. And so as long as we're in the joy, nothing can harm us. But we really have to do the work of being in that joy. We have to retrain ourselves. That's why we have a course attached to the movie, because it holds people's hands so that they can retrain their vibration on a consistent basis. Because like you said, a lot of times when you start and you're in this high vibration, something happens. And that something that happens is just the old program. It's gonna run for a while. It's gonna try to prove itself and reassert itself in your life. And that's where most people give up. And they're just like, this stuff doesn't work. But if you continue on and you're like, we have a powerful analogy we use in the movie in the course, which is like, when you start thinking new thoughts and aligning yourself with who you are, that higher part of you, your inner being that loves you unconditionally, that is radiant health and light and just, full creativity. When you start to connect with that and you're determined, you make the choice that I'm going to vibrate in harmony with who I really am. And you continue to do that. We use that analogy with the fan. You've just disconnected the power from the fan, but yes, the blades are going to go for a while. It's like probably tomorrow when you wake up and you're in this incredible joyful state, you're probably still going to be experiencing your old reality for a little while. You probably are. You're probably going to get a bill in the mail that you didn't expect and all these things, right? But you have to overcome that. And that's the key. And you have to, okay, I'm not going to put my attention here. I have to deal with it. Yes. It's not about ignoring reality or denying, but it's about where am I going to put my energy? I'm going to put my energy back in who I really am. And however long it takes, I'm going to vibrate there until we get there.
We have a surprise guest for you. She wanted to pop in and say hi.
Oh, hello, Maureen. Great to see you.
Great to see you. You're talking my language, brother.
Yes, absolutely.
Wanted to chime in because she's on the bandwagon, just to surprise you with the, hey, James.
Oh, that's really nice. So for those of you that don't know, Maureen is one of the featured experts in our movie, the Grand Self movie. And we were talking about rapid technologies. One of the rapid technologies we feature in the movie is IRT, or inner resonance technology. And that is a beautiful way to help us realign with our source. And she's also in our course.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, thank you for joining the surprise visit. Maureen we just did this like 5 minutes ago. So
Okay. You have any other surprises? Like, is a clown gonna jump on the screen or something?
Okay. Me, you never know what's next.
That's right. Yeah, it's good to see you.
So, yeah, this is wonderful stuff. And of course, total resonance, and so delighted that you're speaking so much of the expertise of Dr. Bruce Lipton also,
Yes.
who also endorses, inner resonance and you and your movies, that's how we originally linked in. So that is just such a wonderful source of all kinds of brilliant information that validates who we truly are. And I love your movie, James, and I'm so excited that
Okay.
we're talking about that a lot. And people really, are benefiting from that all over the world. It's so inspiring, and people think they only want to watch a 48-hour view, but in fact, ownership is the ticket, because who only needs to be inspired once, who only needs to be reminded once. And so, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's very exciting, you guys, because people are writing in and they're saying the same thing. They're saying their vibration is shifting during the movie. It's like this alignment with their source is happening. And so that's why a lot of people that rent it, they end up buying it. And we do allow people to just pay the difference with the upgrade, but they buy it because they want to watch it over and over, which I think is great. And of course, each time you do, you discover more, and it's like the knowledge spirals up,
Yeah, I like saving it at certain parts of the movie, and then I go back and save the certain scene that I want to see. So it's always ready whenever I turn it on.
Yeah.
I get something different out of it every time. So, because depending on where you are that day, what mindset you're in, you're like, oh, I didn't even catch that the first 10 times I watched this.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me is that, we talk about, and we have these experts, and it's like next level, right? It really is next level. And we talk about how we don't even have to age. We can reverse our aging, all this sort of stuff. But is what most people respond to is our self-image. It's like our identity. And it's like people really get that there's a higher part of them, that who they really are, and they don't have to be living this small self that creates all the limitations in our lives. So I find that very cool.
It's basic, isn't it? It's totally basic. It's foundational for anything and everything else that could be possible. That is possible already. We are infinite. And how do we break through that? And I loved how you talked earlier about shifting the resistance. And there's so much resistance from all different aspects of life at this moment in particular. So when we can clear our own personal resistance, it just opens everything up of our potential, as she said. So I'm just chiming my 2 bits in to know that is absolutely true, as you and James know, because of the thousands of people we've helped, and how simple it can be. It doesn't have to be really hard. We don't need to struggle anymore. So thank you for all the wonderful work that you, and the visionary quality that you have, not just in the work you do, but the actual vision of your movie itself. A picture is worth 1,000 and maybe many trillions of words, and you provide that with your cinematography, which is just so inspiring and so beautifully edited and put together. It's a work of art, and that alone takes people into higher realms of themselves. So thank you.
Thank you.
What are some things you do so when people are going on in life and they get triggered by stuff? I know with Maureen, we worked on the touch breath, and I do that, and it pops me. I do this and take some deep breaths. It pops me back into where I want to be. What are some things that you do? You give people examples of when they do get triggered, how to get back on track.
Yeah, well, I do a lot. And so I think what's important is that if you can shift your vibration, even just a hair, that's really important, just a little. It's hard sometimes to go from feeling so depressed and so all of a sudden to, but anything that you can do to shift. And so for different people, I mean, I like walking barefoot on the sand when I'm in the sun and nature.
Did that on Saturday?
I naturally align, and so whatever it is for you. And one thing, since you asked, that I feel is so powerful, and this is something we're going to be talking more about. The science hasn't even gotten there yet. It's gotten there with breathing. It's gotten there with, our cognitive processes and the effects on our body. But one powerful thing people can do, and it works like magic, is light a wood burning fire. And it's best if you can get sustainable wood, because a lot of the timber is taken from dead trees. Yeah. And have a fire, sit within a few feet of that fire. It is sending signals to your brain that's actually retraining you into calmness, but it's also giving you energy, prana. I mean, I challenge anyone to go watch TV for 2 hours and go sit with the fire for just an hour and just see how you feel better. And if you can do that for 30 days, but the fire is doing all kinds of things that is, it's science is not advanced yet to measure all of it, but it will get there. And just like it's gotten there to measure the breath work and all this sort of stuff now. But the fire is going to give you energy. It's also going to purify your etheric energy field. We all have a light body. We are all more energy than we are body. And so, you know, in India, in the East, they call it Runana Bandha. And it's what that is. Wherever you go, you're picking up an influence from environment, from people, and what influence, what is causing that influence? Thoughts and feelings. But people can go into a house and they feel those thoughts and feelings. People can go hang out with someone, and after an hour, they feel like, I don't feel so good. I don't know what it is. I feel like something's in my aura, something's interfering with me. But the fire cleanses that. So does bathing in a river. Or bathing, but fire very powerfully does that. And we've just seen so many things clear up quickly just by that practice. So that's so simple. So here we're talking about just simple things in nature.
Yeah, exactly. Going barefoot on the grass in the park, all that, just grounding and connecting to nature. So I used to have a boyfriend, and we'd go down the beach south of Santa Cruz, and there's bonfires built up there. You bring their own firewood, barefoot on the beach with the bonfire. So awesome.
Yeah.
And he went up and I stopped doing it. So I need to, I need to get back to building fires on the beach. It's so fun. It's just amazing being in nature. I love all of that. What is the science behind the fire? Why it's so?
Well, one thing the fire is doing, it's burning away persistent negative thoughts, emotions, and feelings. So you're going to feel better. So it's improving your state of being. And again, the science is still so young on that. So why is that happening? We don't know from a scientific perspective. But prana, it's prana. Fire is an energy that cleanses. So, you know, it's just a beautiful thing. But people have healed all kinds of illnesses, terminal diseases, by just sitting with the fire and grounding in life. So, you know, and then if you want to get more advanced and get into some of these rapid technologies, such as the IRT and the gamma that we show in the movie, you know, then we can really shift rapidly. And I like to use them all together because it's like, I love to feel good and high all the time, you know, so.
Yeah.
Exactly. It all works together, and that's the brilliance of whatever, you know, lights you up. You know, come on baby, light my fire. But whatever else lights you up and makes you feel good, and knowing that that is in itself, you know, so primal to our, you know, to our being.
Yes.
Doing what you love is just so the greatest way to get into it also, right? Doing anything, if it's taking a bath or playing with your dog, taking a walk, whatever it is. That's like you were saying, James, about raising your vibration. That's an instant way to raise your vibration. Doing something that makes you smile, laughing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we've talked a lot too about, you know, so something's going on for someone right now. Like, do we have a moment to give an example?
Yeah, we're only doing a 30-minute video today, you guys. Wanted to do a short one, but yeah, of course, Carrie.
Yeah, we did. Okay, great. I'll give a short example, but you know, somebody's triggered, right? And so, in other words, they're feeling an emotion that doesn't feel so good, right? And so maybe it's financial lack. Let's use that for an example, financial lack. And you can just welcome what you're feeling. So that's the first step. Frank Lobsiker in our movie, The Grand Self, talks about that. He's a trained psychotherapist, and he learned really rapid ways to move through our feelings and emotions. And so embrace, and you can just ask yourself, what am I feeling? You know, and it's like, well, I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling fear. And it's like, okay, can I welcome that in? Is it okay? And if it's not okay, is it okay for it not to be okay? The idea is so you get a yes, and that everything is allowed, because we are where we are. And then I find a very powerful question to ask next is, how do I want to feel? You know, I want to feel connected to source and, you know, having more than enough abundance for everything that I want to do in my life. And it's like, well, how would that feel? And then, you know, Dr. Joe Dispenza uses a technique. You put your hand on your heart and you say, I'm going to retrain you, and I'm going to train you into the vibration of abundance. And what is that? How would you be feeling if you had it? You'd be feeling relaxed. You'd be feeling like in love with the universe. You'd be in gratitude. You'd be like focusing on what you're going to do with all this abundance, who you're going to help, all of these things. And so that's what you have to, that's how you have to retrain yourself so that becomes your norm. Because if you don't, here's what's going to happen. You're going to get triggered throughout your whole life, and you're going to continue to release those chemicals because your state of being is releasing chemicals in your body every second. And those chemicals cause you to what? Feel good or feel bad. So you're going to constantly be in that state your whole life. And that's why people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, a lot of them, they're still playing out their original patterns that they learned in childhood, especially from 0 to 6.
Yeah, right. Get physically addicted to that feeling.
Yeah. And that's why people age at different rates. That's why people, their lives look different. I mean, there's no rules. It's just, but if we're going to continue to impede who we are, it's going to, and like you said, Kelly, and you're really right, it's going to get harder. And why is it going to get harder? Because the light is increasing here within all of us. And that light shines a light on the dark corners of our subconscious minds. That's why it's harder. And so we can't get away with it anymore. Before we could maybe feel kind of uncomfortably numb.
Let it slide a little.
Now it hurts too much. And if we continue, it's going to kill us. It's that simple. We have to change, and we have to harmonize with our source, because this planet is ascending into higher vibrations and frequencies. And we want to move along with that. We don't want to be left behind. And who wants to stay in misery and pain? Like the Sufis say, the cause of all suffering on the planet is our mistaken identity. We think we're not enough. We think we're humans. We think we're limited. That's the biggest lie. And that's what we focus on in the movie. How do we overcome that lie?
And overcome all the fear that's being pumped out every minute of the day, the past year especially, and it's just getting worse and worse. And people buying into it. Like you don't want to live in fear. That's just the quickest way to a life of misery, pain, and suffering. And realize you have power within to change.
And people have a choice now. We can go gracefully and quickly, or we can go kicking and screaming and prolong the whole thing through resistance. So we actually have choices on a different level these days. So yeah, James, how do people find your movie?
Well, just go to grandselfmovie.com. That's it.
Simple.
Yeah, and if the trailer resonates with you, then you might want to watch it. It's so simple.
Yeah, $10 to purchase, $5 to rent. Is that right?
$10 to rent and $19.97 to buy.
Sorry, I screwed up. $10 to rent.
That's all
$20.
Right. Yeah. Right now we have our first movie, What If the Movie? It's $4.97 to rent. That's with Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza, and I think $11.97 to buy. We have that on a special right now. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And what's the website for that one?
whatifthemovie.tv.
Awesome. All right, Maureen, how do people find you if they want to do IRT work?
Oh, MaureenEdwardson.com. Simple. or watch Kelli Rivers.
And get the OMNIQARD.
Absolutely.
I just did a little quick 5-minute video on the OMNIQARD, just doing little highlights of it. So I'm excited. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks guys for doing this quick video. And James, I'd love to have you back, do like a series or something of, I like these little quick 30-minute videos and motivating, inspirational.
And maybe we could do something where, we can help everyone move the dial on alignment with their source right during the interview, so that they're really receiving that benefit of shifting, so.
I'd love that. Yeah, that'd be great. All right. Well, I'll get with you offline and talk about it.
Yeah, sounds good.
And thank you for letting me photobomb you.
Yeah, I had no idea. So it's great to see you.
Thanks everyone for watching.